Join me on the adventure and welcome to the Mysterious Adventures Podcast. I'm your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan. Mysterious Adventures is available on all of your favorite podcasting apps, and I thank each and every one of you once and always for downloading and listening to this show. It is a great pleasure to be back on board with you once again today. As well, this one's kind of anticipated a bit, at least from a great friend at work, Kyle. Hey, Kyle, just a big shout out to you. He kept saying Wormwood. Well, here it is, Wormwood. We're going to talk about Wormwood today, which is definitely a part of Revelation, a burning star from the heavens. We'll look at the scripture as well, Revelation 10:11. Well, what am I saying? Revelation 8, verse 10 and 11. We'll get going onto that. And, of course, doing some other conversation and research as to, well, there really is a star out there, and it's got this Wormwood vibe to it, and the date will frighten you just a little bit, the actual date. It also may have a little reference to it's kind of a scary movie many years ago as well, at least the date itself. Pretty interesting. So maybe we'll get stuck straight into this here in a second. Again, my apologies. The show has been kind of delayed a bit. Obviously, back to the two-job thing and the first, obviously kind of starting things out. Sometimes you run into some rain and some tough stuff. So working outside can be a headache, especially if you get behind when rain starts, rearing its ugly head, which it tends to do this time of year for some reason. At least it just seems to. So my apologies for that. And, of course, working on some other podcasts and projects as well. But this show is always important to me, and I can't thank all of you enough that do listen to this show, and I'm so happy it's important to you. So, Revelation 8, verse 10 and 11. And the third angel sounded, and there was a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers, and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood. And the third of the part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. Then it goes on to the fourth angel. So it was the third angel. This is, of course, during the 7-year tribulation. So what's really interesting about that is there's a star out there called Apophis, and will have a very close encounter with Earth, passing approximately 19,800 miles, which is 3,200 kilometers of Earth's surface. There was a time that it was actually going to hit, that they were saying this star is going to hit on this particular day. And, well, then, of course, NASA's like, oh, no, never mind. It's not true. We miscalculated. So funny how all that kind of stuff tends to change. And, of course, you can always count on Google to go with whatever the narrative is and not with what may have been the truth. It is kind of funny how, again, NASA would just say, oh, no, it's not going to happen. Now, could this be it? Obviously, and again, that was the conversation. This is the star. This is the one, most likely. And when you look at the date of this star and what it potentially could be, what the date could potentially be here, on Friday, April 13th, 2029. Friday the 13th, you say? Friday the 13th, April, Friday the 13th. Could that be the real Friday the 13th? Maybe. There's definitely no Camp Crystal Lake. There's no masked zombie, undead, demonic-like child that drowned in the lake, Camp Crystal Lake, or any of that. This is a burning star from the heaven, potentially, that could be this Wormwood. So, pretty amazing conversation. In fact, it was called Wormwood. I'm not sure where all this Apophis, how they changed it around, but that's kind of like the main name of it. But it's also been called Wormwood. And interestingly enough, when you put all this together, this conversation's been brought up on other shows as well, like Ancient Conspiracies. that this would be about the midway point. Yeah, this is about the midway point of the 7-year tribulation, which would be after the rapture. Obviously, some of you don't believe in the rapture. I personally do. That there's the rapture, then the 7-year tribulation, and then the second coming. And then the final, then there's like the final battle and all of that, and eventually the millennial reign. And then one more battle, and it's the final defeat of Satan, after the millennial reign. So, yes, unfortunately, he will have one short period to deceive many, and apparently those that will be deceived will be of the sands of the sea. So a ton of people are going to be deceived because they'll really have no knowledge of good and evil, unfortunately. So that's the bad part when that happens. But that doesn't mean it's going to be us. So, but it is unfortunate that that could possibly be coming. Well, apparently it is. It's in the Bible. 2029, though. And if 2029 could potentially be the midway point of the tribulation, what would the starting point? The possibility could be this year, if that's the case. So, yeah, that doesn't... So, obviously, we don't want to talk about dates. I am not about talking about dates for the rapture. I do not believe in that at all. Like 1988, here they come. Here comes Jesus. 1989, here comes Jesus. Let's see, 97, here comes Jesus. No. 98, here comes... No, I'm not a fan. So I'm not going into that at all. But it's interesting, though, how, this could be that absolute... this could be Wormwood. So we'll find out, obviously, but that's kind of the conversation. Wormwood also is a bitter plant out there as well. Referencing some more into Wikipedia, Wormwood, translated to absinthos, which also sounds like that star, is historically believed to refer to a plant of the genus Artemisia. Yeah, they don't get any easier, do they? So that's interesting. Used metaphorically to mean something with a bitter taste. The English rendering wormwood additionally refers to a dark green eye over the plant. Okay, so as for the Bible, though, wormwood occurs 9 times in the Hebrew Bible, 7 times with the implication of bitterness, and twice as a proper noun. So these are all kind of general conversations and such. I apologize if it's getting a little bit out there, but that's how that goes. We'll get back to the actual star some more. Apophis will be visible to observers on the ground in the eastern hemisphere without a telescope or binoculars during its close approach. The 2029 quote-unquote flyby provides an unprecedented opportunity for astronomers to study the asteroid. So it's an asteroid, yes. It's a pretty large, sizable asteroid. There's no danger of impact, and Apophis is not considered a threat to Earth. Okay, well, we'll see. Obviously, you don't want a huge panic. I understand that part of things. But at the same time, the Wormwood connection, Bible prophecy, the initial perceived risk of impact led to speculation, linking Apophis to the Wormwood prophecy described in the book of Revelation, where a storm named Wormwood falls and makes waters bitter. However, the asteroid is not expected to hit Earth. Well, we'll see. And again, the amazing date is really something as well, because obviously it makes you think of Friday the 13th, and to think it's Friday, April the 13th, 2029. So, they say, Apophis will make a close flyby of Earth on April 13th, 2029. There is no scientific basis to suggest it will be a catastrophic event or fulfill the Wormwood prophecy as described in the Bible. Again, we'll have to wait and see on that. I think it's a true possibility at the end of the day. But again, maybe it isn't. A lot of stuff. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it sure sounds like something this time around. So now we'll delve a bit deeper into this object, this planetary object, or meteoroid, potentially, or asteroid. It's an asteroid because it's bigger than a meteoroid. And remember the old arcade game Asteroids, very classic, and, you're stuck in the asteroid belt and shooting away and breaking them up with your with your ship, your cannon, whatever. So 99942 Apophis. So it was designated in 2004 MN. Does that mean it was from here? Is a near-Earth asteroid and a potentially hazardous object. 450 meters, that would be 1,480 feet, by 170 meters, 560 feet in size. So it's 1,480 by 560 in size. It caused a brief period of concern in December 2004. I certainly didn't hear about it back then, when maybe very little. I didn't hear about it until the last year or two here, when initial observations indicated a probability that, 2.7% that it would hit Earth on Friday, April 13, 2029. Again, thanks to Wikipedia always, and I do encourage people to make a small donation, just like $2 whenever. So like I've done it multiple times. It was discovered by Roy A. Tucker, David J. Tholen, Fabrizio Bernardi. You can tell where he might be from, you know. It's got a really cool name. I like it a lot, you know. Discovery site Kitt Peak. Discovery date June 19th, 2004. I believe that's my friend. I think so. Yeah. So Kitt Peak. Where is that exactly? That would be in Arizona. Cool. Yep. Big giant. Yeah, but it's a national observatory, and of course, yeah, you'd need something really powerful to be able to see an asteroid. You know, it's not that easy to find an asteroid, because obviously, yes, the light can reflect off of it and everything, but it's a lot harder to see with even a pretty good, regular telescope. We need something pretty special. So nice discovery, guys, and cool. Roy A. Tucker, David Tholen, and Fabrizio Bernardi. You gotta love it. So all different kinds of conversation. Again, it was a 2.7%, and again, the possibility of 2.7% that an asteroid of that size could hit Earth that's pretty. That's still pretty scary. But they're saying no, it's not going to, and maybe it won't. But again, it's still a conversation, and if it is something that could be real, the date is pretty fascinating. Friday the 13th, of course, along with if it's halfway through the tribulation, which is 3.5 years basically halfway through, then when does it start? 2025. So so it's pretty crazy to think about. Don't know, but things have been definitely getting interesting, dramatic with governments and such. It's been kind of an ongoing thing for an extended period, and all this creepy government control and such, HARP, and all of that, and the endless fires that keep happening every year. The sky was always a bit smoky when I was a kid at times, and of course during the Yellowstone wildfire, forest fire, whatever, way back in the late 80s. I believe that was 89. The famous Yellowstone fire. It's a long ways away from here, obviously, but the sky was covered in smoke, and you had a very reddish sun back then. I mean, that was a red sun on a clear day. It looked like an overcast day like I'm looking at right now at the time I'm recording this. And the sun was like red. It was like almost like a bloodish red. Not quite, maybe orangish red, but that was the first time I experienced that. But then now it's like almost all the time, though. It's not as thick a smoke as that, because that was an unbelievable fire, I guess. But yeah, the fact of the frequency of it is pretty crazy. From basically about 2021 up to today, it seems like it's all the time. I don't remember the sky being so dang blurry, so it's kind of weird. So like the Blurry Creatures podcast, it could be like the Blurry Skies. Blurry Skies podcast here on Mysterious Adventures in a way. Continuing a bit some more. Talking about the impact of Earth possibility. A small possibility nevertheless remained that during its 2029 close encounter with Earth, Apophis, sounds pretty cool, would pass through a gravitational keyhole estimated by to be 800 meters in diameter, which would have set up a future impact exactly 7 years later. On Easter Sunday, April 13th. Again, April 13th. How does that happen? Wow, exactly 7 years later, 2036. This possibility kept at level 1 on the 0 to 10 Torino impact hazard scale, so 1, okay, until August 2006, when the probability that Apophis would pass through the keyhole was determined to be very small, and Apophis' rating on the Torino scale was lowered to level to 0. By 2008, the keyhole had been determined to be less than 1 kilometer wide. Okay, so it's kind of that magical little spot. But we'll see. If it's time, it's time. And God being God, he can intervene, I'm sure. So, yeah. Anyhow, during the short time when it had been of greatest concern, Apophis set the record for highest rating ever on the Torino scale, reaching level 4 on December 27th, 2004. That's pretty high, 4 out of 10. Yeah, when you talk about the impact of a massive asteroid, like Final Fantasy VII, I remember that one. But I think that was a comet that was coming down, and that one was absolutely going to hit the Earth. But it's a video game. Anyhow, it's a video game, and we'll move on from that now. The discovery of Apophis in 2004 is rather surprising because it is estimated that an asteroid as big or bigger coming so close to Earth happens only once in 800 years on average. Such an asteroid is expected to actually hit Earth once in about 80,000 years. So, okay, interesting. Something pretty large hit Arizona years ago. There's that massive crater there. And heck, there's evidence that the Andes Mountains were formed by a massive impact. Like, you can kind of tell. It looks like something that had been hit and then pushed up. Like, doesn't it look like that when you look at the Andes Mountains in western South America, like Chile and all that? Like, you look at, it's mostly Chile, but, other countries, of course. Nice mountains and everything, but it's just, they really are. And South America is a fascinating continent in terms of, like, world history and such. Like, going back to, like, golden-haired giants, like I talked about in the Nazca Lines episode. Pyramids all over the place. I mean, we're talking fascinating stuff. All kinds of legends of giants there. And we're going to have an episode on the Solomon Islands someday. That's a totally different part of the world, eastern part of the world. But again, when you talk about impacts and asteroids, meteorites and all that kind of stuff, craters, you can totally tell that. Like they even talked about that there's evidence that there was a massive impact at some point in the dateless past that formed the Andes Mountains, and it makes sense because again, it looks like structure of the Earth that had been impacted and pushed forward because of the impact was coming in from that direction. So imagine it coming from what would be the west still, and then boom, it lands there and then pushes it up, kind of like a tablecloth, or whatever. Something that powerful just might do that. Obviously, again, like you hit your car and the hood, gets pushed upward from the impact, right? It kind of gets pushed forward, scrunched forward, and pushed up. So that's, again, further evidence possibly there. Now I'm kind of wandering into space, but then again, that's kind of what this is. This is space. And obviously, again, there's not a whole lot of, there's not a whole lot of, like, black and white evidence that it's going to hit the Earth. But at the same time, the possibility, I think, it's a strong possibility, and it has the same name as Wormwood, the Apophis and all that. And I don't know. It's kind of got that feeling. It's kind of the timing, not just the date itself, but the year seems interesting. It really does. And even crazier, Easter Sunday, April 13th, 2036. Like that, what is it, like a 7-year period because of gravitational, which is really weird, like a gravitational hole. That's really interesting. Very strange. So strange. Yep, it's a gravitational keyhole, estimated to be 800 meters in diameter. And then it went down to, less than 1 kilometer, which is the same thing. Yeah, that's what it is. So I don't know. That is what they're saying. Yeah, less than 1 kilometer wide. Obviously, that's a small bullseye type of thing. But sometimes bullseyes happen. Especially when you're involving, destiny. It's destiny, and it's God, and all. It's God. It's prophecy. So we'll see. We'll see if this really is the burning star from the heavens that will come down, according to Revelation 8. So the third angel sounded. We'll see if it's going to have to do with that at the end of the day. Observation arc 6,599 days, so 18 years basically. So it's the earliest from March 15th, 2004. So yeah, they're going to keep watching it, I'm sure. And it's a few years off. That's the good part. Continued conversation, preliminary observations by Goldstone radar in January 2013 effectively ruled out the possibility of an Earth impact by Apophis in 2036. Probability less than 1 in a million. Okay. In February 2013, the estimated probability of an impact in 2036 was reduced to, I don't get it, 7 times 10 minus 9. Okay. Basically, it's like almost impossible. Okay. It is now known that in 2036, Apophis will approach the Earth at a third the distance of the Sun in both March and December, about the distance of the planet Venus, okay, when it overtakes the Sun every 1.6 years. Simulations in 2013 showed that the Yarkovsky effect might cause Apophis to hit a keyhole in 2029, so that it will come close to Earth in 2051 and could hit another keyhole and hit Earth in 2068. Okay. So it might hit Earth in 30... No, I'm just kidding. But, I mean, that's interesting. So there's other possible dates as well. Maybe, and if they're all Friday the 13th, then you might want to start worrying. Like, oh, okay, do you notice a pattern here? How could it be Friday the 13th every year? Okay, but I suppose it'd be that magical spot, I suppose. But the chance of the Yarkovsky effect having exactly the right value for this was estimated as 2 in a million, or 1 in 500,000. Anyhow, radar observations on March 2021 helped refine the orbit, and in March 2021, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory announced that Apophis has no chance of impacting Earth in the next 100 years. Well, I do believe with the way things are on this planet, and the way things are lining up with Revelation, with one world government and, one currency and one this and one that, New World Order, all that, it's not going to be 100 years. It's not going to be 100 years. It's less. I mean, it's less. I'd be very surprised. I mean, very, very, very surprised. I understand people way back into biblical times still thought Jesus was coming back, like, very soon. And obviously it's been 2,000 years since some of those apostles, were waiting, like John and all of them. And then people maybe in 1,400 years ago and 800 years ago and in the 1800s and all that. And in World War II, they thought maybe Hitler was the Antichrist. Because supposedly he even had a mark on his, he had some kind of a mark. I think that's part of like the conversation of what the Antichrist would have. But there wasn't really any major evidence that we were at or near the end. Where now I think it's insanely close. This whole Neuralink, that sounds like the mark of the beast, quite possibly. And it's unfortunate as to who may have been involved in creating that item. Maybe he didn't mean it for that purpose, and I sure hope he didn't. Elon Musk. I hope not. I really hope not. I'd like to believe better when it comes to Elon Musk. I'd like to believe the best, but, well, just don't take the mark, that's all. Just don't follow. Don't follow. Regardless, you have to give up. You have to live off the grid, whatever, in that situation. So be it. So lots of Revelation kind of conversation combined with some outer space, some astronomy. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of astronomy. I hope you are as well. This is definitely a fascinating topic, to say the least. Continuing the uncertainty in the 2029 approach distance has been reduced from hundreds of kilometers to now just a couple of kilometers, greatly enhancing predictions of future approaches. Entering March 2021, 6 asteroids each had a more notable cumulative Palmero-scale rating than Apophis. And none of those has a terrestrial level above 0. Okay? However, Apophis will continue to be a threat, possibly for thousands of years, until it is removed from being a potentially hazardous object for distance by passing close to Venus and Mars. Yeah, because I remember years ago, I forget if I was still, I may have still been at Maranatha Christian Academy, so we're talking the 90s, that there was a time that things were kept real quiet, that an asteroid did pass between Earth and the Moon. Not Venus or Mars, Earth and the Moon. And it was pretty sizable, but it was kept extremely quiet until after it had passed already. So, don't discount the possibility that there could be cover-ups to prevent panics and such. Because I can imagine people being pretty scared. They might have thought, okay, it's not going to hit, but Yeah, it's still, Earth and the moon. I mean, the moon is in the Earth's gravitational pull, isn't it? Now, obviously, again, the Earth isn't going to pull the moon into it. So, luckily, we don't have to worry about that. It's far away enough that we don't have to worry about that. It's just still, it's pretty interesting how a lot of this kind of works and connects. And again, I like to believe further and further proof that the Earth is, in fact, round. You have every right to believe the Earth is flat. I'm not going to tell you how to think, but I will tell you how I think because, well, hopefully you're listening to the podcast to hear something, even though you may not want to listen to me all the time. You'd like to listen to some guests, and I would love to have guests on this show. But I'll tell you this, the Earth is round. Yeah, that's my stance. The Earth is round, just like everything else you see out there. So, I mean, all of a sudden we're going to be some flat, weird-looking thing when everything else is round and orbiting around us. I don't know. It's all just a scene in the background, like a set. I don't think God's that way. That's first of all, you're underestimating God's creation. Secondly, you know what I mean. Secondly, I don't know. I don't think God would want to deceive people like that. I don't. So at the same time, again, you have a right to believe whatever you want. I'm just giving my point of view. I'm not trying to be too haughty or arrogant here when I make these observations. It's fascinating stuff. I love space. I love conversation. We're going to have some mysterious adventures into space some more in the future, I'm sure. Sometimes we might get into some planetary conversation where it doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to necessarily be tied to Revelation. Could be, legends. It could be mysteries. It could be just talking about science as well. Talking about science, maybe biblical with science, without being scary. More just kind of like creation and conversation and discussion, which you are 1,000% welcome to have on this show, and 1,000% encouraged to have on this show. Don't be afraid to create an audio submission. Simply pick up your smart device of any kind, Apple, Android, whatever it is. As long as it has an app, a free app, which every smart device on the planet should have, that can be a voice recorder. Just open it, press play, press record, not play. Press record, start talking to it like a phone call or a podcast or whatever. And when you're done, obviously you stop and then save it and share it to either paladinolive@yahoo.com or paladinolive@gmail.com. Sometimes paladinolive@yahoo.com behaves funny, but I guess it's better now. A dear friend of mine, Vince Germano, tried to send some audio submissions to my Tim Rules Explosion podcast, and it started acting funny. But now it's acting better, I guess. But Gmail is a way to go, and I got to get that into the show description. Of course, there's now a thread for Mysterious Adventures. There's also now a YouTube for Mysterious Adventures, and I think I talked about that on the last episode, at Mysterious Adventures 79, or just Mysterious Adventures 79. Give that a follow. We can look at mounds, we can look at space, we can look at a lot of different things. Maybe I'll catch a UFO on there. I'd sure like to see the light that was appearing and disappearing and appearing and disappearing again, and to capture that on video and put it up on my Mysterious Adventures 79 on YouTube. I would so love to do that. Then again, I'd be like, see, there it is. This is what I saw. How it's like really bright, fade to black, and now it's over here. Really bright, fade to black. It's kind of like hyperspace in Asteroids. Remember the arcade game? I'm bringing that up again. Since we're talking about asteroids here. It was a really fun game, and those vector graphics. I mean, that was awesome. Awesome game, awesome everything. So we're gonna have to wait and see. But we're gonna have to wait and see if I can get that captured, and I'm hoping for that day to come. That would be amazing. And any other crazy, cool stuff, hopefully I could get it captured. Some blurry creatures, so to speak, without having to be the Blurry Creatures podcast. How about the Mysterious Adventures podcast as well? God bless the Blurry Creatures podcast. They do an amazing job. But I'd like to see Mysterious Adventures, grow. I'd like to see it grow. And please tell your friends about this show. Share it to your friends on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Yep, Instagram is obviously another option. Very happy to have, yep, it's Mysterious Adventures 79. So basically, almost everywhere, it's Mysterious Adventures 79. Facebook, so you just simply try to look it up. There's no real, like, there's a link in the show notes, basically, for that one. Eventually, hopefully, I can have, like, an actual, like, more of a concrete link. Nothing like all these jumbled numbers and such. You know how, like, sometimes, like, facebook.com/Timberwolves Explosion. I can't do that yet for Mysterious Adventures, so that's unfortunate. But eventually, as the page grows, I try to get some more, encourage your friends to join it and follow it if you could. And if you haven't yet, please do. Like a Kyle, maybe you already have. I'm not sure. And others. So, hopefully you enjoy this show. Hopefully you enjoy what's here to offer. And again, we can try to grow things together. The only one that's different is on Twitter. It is My Adventures 79, I believe, right? I keep changing stuff, so I apologize. Sometimes I get confused because there's so many different... Yep, My Adventures 79, because Mysterious doesn't fit for the @, so My Adventures 79. Otherwise, everything else is Mysterious Adventures 79. Yep, so because I can't just put Mysterious Adventures, somebody else took it probably like 20 years ago for all I know. Unfortunately, that's just the way it goes. So just want to thank all of you so much for listening. Follow that YouTube page. We'd like to get that thing growing. And, of course, the Facebook, the Instagram, and Threads. Threads is the same thing, Mysterious Adventures 79. Threads, which is kind of like it's a part of, it's kind of like Instagram and Twitter together. It's kind of like that, even though it's connected to Instagram, but it's kind of like with a Twitter vibe to it. So that's kind of what's going on there. With all of that said, I think I've babbled enough. Again, please put a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Please, please, please. And again, share the show as much as you can. It'd be greatly appreciated. With all of that said, thank you so much. God bless you. And join me on the next adventure.